will say from personal experience and TMI for your audience, literally when I started doing the uterus cramps, just reproductive system, emotion release and energetic release on myself, I honestly, like a couple months later, probably had the best sexcapade ever. Don't tell my husband that. But I had struggled with letting in, receiving, and being all of that. Just imagine you have a bag of rocks, energetically there. When you take that off, you can receive more, you have more information available to you, your energy is flowing so much better. So I can say from personal experience, it was very lovely.
Welcome to the Awaken Mama podcast. Akeisha, you are a powerful guide in the world of emotional and energetic healing. You help women experiencing health conditions release the stored emotional patterns in their bodies so they can reconnect with a sense of vitality and ease. Instead of seeing the body through the lens of limitation, diagnoses, symptoms, and conditions, you see something deeper. I am excited to get into today, and I really would love to just give our viewers a bit into your background, what brought you here.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm so excited to be here. My background, when I think about myself 10 years ago, I would have never thought this is what I would be doing. This is where I am. Here I am in life. I thought I was going to be a professional dancer, creating works, applying for Canada Council grants. I'm a Canadian girl and traveling around the world performing. Little did I know that everything I was doing in the dance performance space, learning different techniques, going through my own injuries, understanding that I have things to work on internally, were all going to prepare me for the work that I do now and the work that I feel like I am shifting into more and more and more as I work with more people, more clients, get curious about, diving or deepening my practice and my knowledge. But yeah, I come from a dance background. Energetics, I've always seen movement as manipulating energy. I always think I saw when I was dancing once, I saw like strings in the audience and I was just playing with the strings. It's very visual, it's very cool. But I've always sensed this possibility of what's possible for bodies. Having been in contemporary dance where partnering is very prominent, I always understood that there was more to people's possibility from a body perspective, like mobility wise, than what they thought was possible for them, because I was just surrounded by people pushing their limits constantly. And I knew that when we had less tension, we could move better. And that took me down a path of stretch therapy, which came out of my own personal injuries. I moved into the energetics. The more and more I started diving into the body holds or body keeps the score, as Louise Hayes always says in her book, but how the experiences we have as each other, of our beings, of our life, they get stored in the body. And fascia is a big part of that. So as I was being a stretch therapist, I was being introduced to like all these nuances and these deeper levels. And then going through the process as my own to unlock whatever experiences I was holding on to, even just relating to other females at a time when I was like 30, I was really realizing I was really jealous about the women around me. And I was like, where is this coming from? Because like I love my friends, but I have this deep rooted sense of jealousy and lust and rage. And it was when I started doing the work that I do now that I started to uncover, this is from, some inherited emotions. This is from my parents' divorce. This is from me growing up. And I just started to like dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And now I'm working with women in unlocking what's been stored in their bodies, also pulling in all my knowledge of movement and fascia and energetics and emotions, pulling it all into a very gentle, non-invasive practice for most people.
That's beautiful. Something that you said about movement in our bodies, and it just brought me to something that I watched the other day, and how they explained the only limitations on our physical body and how we move is our mind. Because one person, like I'm quite flexible and can easily put my hands to the ground, flat hands, not a problem. Whereas the next person might struggle to sort of go past their knees. And if they went under general anesthesia, however you say that.
Yeah, that's right.
Then their body would go like no problem. And they would be able to absolutely go past their toes. So, yeah, what you said there, it is the mind that is in control. So, being able to release that.
Yeah, so I started to notice that. I mean, I've been dancing up when I was 2016. Don't know how old I was back then, but in 2016, I really started to dive into a technique called counter technique. It was created in Europe, based out of a professional dancer, and I went and spent 2 weeks learning this technique in Australia and just dove right into the tools, which were all based in a practice called Alexander Technique. And the biggest takeaway I took from this practice that I have brought into every single aspect of my life, every single job I've ever had, even as like a server going in a restaurant, is to release unnecessary tension and pair that with changing your point of view about something and letting the body release what it really doesn't need to hold on to and probably isn't even yours to begin with. Pair those 3 steps, those 3 shifts. I have seen not only myself as a mover increase my speed, my flexibility, my mobility, but I've changed my body. I've seen my clients do the same thing. When we start to shift what our mind thinks is possible for us, our body changes, our life changes. And this all goes back to the perspective of you create your reality, which is really easy to associate with the outside world. Like you manifest your house, you manifest your husband, you manifest a new car, you manifest new clients, you manifest like the baby of your dreams. But it doesn't always, it's uncomfortable, I should say, to see that same thing. It's the same principle as you creating your body, you creating what you experience in your body, whether that's tension, pain, chronic illnesses, or illness itself, or whatever. There's an element of co creation from you that is part of that. That's your perspective, that's your thoughts and feelings, beliefs and judgments and considerations. And all of that is, I like to label it as your point of view. So, like, whatever point of view you have, you'll end up creating it. And it's like a little confronting to see how that, like I said, is part of your body. But I think when we can go there, we can really start making shifts and changes. And working with so many people over the past 6-7 years, I've really seen how when people start to shift their perspective of their self and really shift into, okay, I have a body. This is how I get to experience this life. What if I shift more and more and more to a perspective of joy, seeing how their life starts to unravel from there. So yeah, totally. When you put someone under anesthesia, my friend actually has witnessed this. She was going to medical school and she actually witnessed a hip replacement and the doctor go, hey, he couldn't touch his toes the other day in our consult. Now look at him. And like puts his leg to his face on the table. And she was like, and at the time we were like, I think we were like in our early 20s. She was going through her classes and she literally voice messaged me this and was like, remember when we were kids and we couldn't even touch our toes? I just watched this. So you're like that experience. Like my friend has literally been in the OR and like seen it happen and like in a consult where a 7-year-old man couldn't touch his toes and then
Yeah. And they
shimmy to the
literally
face.
said they don't feel like the next day they're not going to feel tight hamstrings or anything like that. They don't feel anything from it because their mind wasn't stopping them, that block
No.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's such powerful work what you do, and I'm excited to and nervous to dive in today because by nature I am an emotional person. So when we talk about whatever is trapped and stored or whatever things that I've gone through, I really feel it. And when I was talking to another guest speaker yesterday, and she went through what sounds very similar to what you do, and it was about generational trauma that I store in my hips. I believe it's generational trauma because we all have it. It was so powerful, but I felt so emotional. And like then she did another part. It was the release was just, I felt so light. So I'm excited that people are going to be able to get an experience with you to give an example of what you really do with your clients.
And to speak to that, like, as one part of what I do with clients, and this is something I've really shifted my focus around, is when we work together, we really clean the slate because it's one to release the emotions that are trapped around a particular and energetics trapped around a particular ask or desire that's like more present, which is great. We can do that. I like to bring people a little bit further back in the start period and release what we've inherited from our ancestors, our parents, our great grandparents. I like to shift it from generational trauma to just what we've inherited, because sometimes people don't resonate with that word, right? But it could be, right? But I don't want to continuously put, from my point of view, I really want to remove the shame and judgment around all of that. So I really bring people through, like, what have we inherited? What have our ancestors gone through that they didn't process, that has shifted the energetics in our DNA that our body is now experiencing, totally subconscious, totally in the background. It's like on your computer, some random file is running that you're not even aware of, but it's slowing down your processor. It's glitching out on certain, tabs you've got open on your browser. That stuff, I really bring people that there first, because if we can clear that, making what we're working on presently, we make it so much easier to address, because like our back end trigger points are no longer trigger points, and we can release them from our generation, our body now, and anything we've passed on to like our friends or our family or our kids, just from being in our sphere. It sounds crazy, but I also am
It
so
does
grateful for
sound
like,
woo-woo for people who haven't sort of gone down this route before of any of the energetics and that sort of thing. But
yeah,
trust us, stay with us.
trust
It
us, stay
works.
with us. Epigenetics is really bringing this to the forefront, and I'm so excited. Like, I'm always someone who's just like, society has known these tools for millennia. These didn't just like pop out of nowhere. Like, Western world is catching up to Eastern world thoughts and ideologies and bringing them into like the new context. Pair that with science that can like scan now, and like epigenetic work that just has more and more technology behind it. We're really seeing how, if anyone steps into like any sort of similarity of this work, not just for me, but I mean, there's tons of emotion code practitioners out there, but like paired with other modalities or whatnot, anyone who's like going into their internal self development and self healing, we're just going to be part of that community that's going to then have the science catch up to and like really show, because it is showing how it's changing the energetics and the epigenetics as we move through this whatever paradigm we're moving into. It's all going to catch up. So I'm just very excited. Every time I hear something new come out of the epigenetics world, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's me with anything in health. I'm just, it's a rabbit hole, isn't it? You go
It
down,
is
it's like you
all
can always, there's always a deeper you can go down. It's just,
so deep. I mean, I'm learning about carotenoids now, the superheroes of antioxidants. Like, I'm going down so many rabbit holes just of myself, because I do believe there's an energetic and a physical component. We have a body, so we should support it, as many ways as possible. I
yeah,
just have a love affair with the emotional and the energetic side.
yeah. Well, it plays such a big role, doesn't it?
It's the sub layer of the sub layers, as I like to look at it.
I love the way that you explain things so people listening at home can really understand.
I like using metaphors. I hope they connect with people.
Yes. So, do you want to do run through a bit of an example of how you would have a session with a client?
Yeah, I love this because I feel like this experience is experiential. And whoever is listening, I'd love to give you an opportunity to get a sense of what this work is. So if you'd like to work with me, we can. But also, if it resonates with you and you find someone in your area that resonates with you, you have an understanding of, okay, that's it. With that being said, I do need to preface what we're going to do today with Crystal is just a part of what I do. I'm going to use emotion code as like a starting point. I also do, when I work with people, use verbal clearings from access consciousness. I also envelop a lot of fascial awareness. Fascia is a communicator of the body. So a lot of visualization meditations, a lot of sensing where things are being held in the body. And also the conditional programming we get from society also comes into work in this. But we're just going to start with emotion code to start, to give everyone a sense of what a glimpse into this work could look like. But I'm going to start with Crystal, you getting to expand. So just like kind of get comfortable seated where you are. And you can close your eyes or open them. Sometimes this little introduction is best with eyes closed, but you do you on the podcast. And I want you to sense your body 360 lightening up and expanding out into space. allowing your body to become these little particle dust elementals, and they are floating away as you expand, and the space of your being no longer is contracted to your physical form, but you are everywhere and everything. And as you expand, notice the lightness in your low back. Notice the space between your vertebrae. Notice your shoulders dropping and your head flying high above your spine. And just let go of everything that no longer needs to be here to fly out of your body. You don't need to know what it is. You simply have to be willing to let it go. And allow yourself to expand into the galaxy a little bit more. And when you're ready, you can come back to me. Okay, how do you feel just right now?
Light.
Light, great. That's a great place to start. So, do I have your permission to tap into your subconscious?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I'm using a pendulum. People will muscle test, people will do different techniques. This is the best I've connected with using. So I'm just going to ask if my name is Crystal. Yes, and my name is Akeisha. No, so the pendulum will swing. I don't know if you saw how different it's like circling now versus it was just swinging back and forth when my name is Crystal. It will connect. So really good connection. I love that. I love people where I'm just like, yes, this is going to rock. Okay, so what would we like to look into today, Crystal? I know you've done a lot of work on yourself recently. So what is currently up in your world? What would you like to dive in deeper with, or start with something else? Start with something new.
Well, something that I mentioned on my last episode that I was raw and real, and it was the first thing I worked on in my self development 7.5 years ago, and that was my self worth. It came from, there was a lot of toxicness in my past, and my self worth was something that came up recently for me. And I thought, well, I have dealt with that, but I mean, it's traumas and we store it in our body. So I was just kind of surprised by it. So I think that that's going to be something that will be interesting to go there.
See if there's anything lingering or what's deeper. Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple questions or yes, no questions. Okay, first of all, this is weird. I just keep hearing like, who else in your family has this like thought of self-worth running? Anyone like, I want to say immediate.
Generational, I would say my mum, and I would say my daughters.
Okay, daughters, plural.
Daughters, yeah, I have 3 daughters. I have 5 kids.
Okay, great. So yeah, sometimes I hear things weirdly. I think they call that clairaudience. So we're just gonna acknowledge that they're also here for whatever you're willing to release, which is beautiful. Okay, so a couple questions. Can we release emotions around her self-worth today? Yes. Is there more than 10 emotions trapped that contribute to this? No. Are there more than 5? 6? 7? So I'm getting 6 clear emotions that are linked to this. Are there any inherited emotions? Does anything go past her mother? Just her mom? Does anything involve her father? No. Of the 6, is there more than 3 to her mom? More than 6. More than 4? 5 of these emotions attached to her mom. Nope. So 4. Sometimes you just gotta ask the question again to be really specific. Okay, so 4 emotions that you have inherited from your mom. So are these is one of these emotions in column A? Odd rows, row 2, row 4, row 6. Is this first emotion pride? Do we need to know any more details? No, so sometimes it asks me to know specifically an age for you, but we're going straight to mom. We're going, mom had these experiences. You don't need to know her experiences. Obviously, she's not here to like confirm an age or anything. So because these are inherited, this is what we do. So this practice is derived from Chinese medicine and the governing meridian lines and the organs in which these emotions are obtained to. So interesting, you were talking about a session where your hips, well, your sexual organs are in your hips. They're also connected to your glands. And that's just like side information. But basically, pride. So we're going to release this from our governing meridian line, which all meridian lines feed into. And you can do this very simply. Since it's an inherited emotion, we're going to have to swipe this line 10 times, which is great for a podcast episode. So we might only get through a few, but don't worry, we can address this on a different time and clear it all away. But I like to swipe the top of my hand. You can also swipe head over. You don't have to touch. You can hover because I know you got headphones on. So we're just going to, with love and gratitude and so much appreciation for this opportunity to release this from not only your mom, you, and your daughters, we're going to swipe 10 times. Ready? Okay.
Yes.
Swipe 10 times. So I yawn when energy is moving. Some people might also sense it. And invitation to all of the listeners and people watching this to also sweep, because if you are aligned with something that we're bringing up today, you can also clear it for yourself. How's your world, Crystal?
I just kind of feel some shifting. So interesting.
Okay, great. Did we release this? Yes. Okay. Can we shift another emotion? Yes. Column A? No. Odd rows? Row 2, row 4, row 6, again, row 6. Is this emotion pride again? Nope. Shock. Shock. Do you need to know more details? Is it safe to clear this? Yes. So these questions also are just making sure that you and your body want to clear this. Sometimes people will like push through, but we have to remember like we may cognitively be like, yeah, poof, but the nervous system has to also be on board. So sometimes we're aware of their 6 emotions, but we might only clear like 2, especially when we come to the heart wall. If we're addressing that, there's a lot of times where I've had clients that have like had 1 emotion and we cannot clear it for weeks and or months because the body doesn't deem it not essential to survival. And we have to allow the nervous system to get on board to kind of do all the things it needs to do for it to feel safe to release this. So we're going to release shock. Are you surprised with these emotions that I'm bringing up that's pertaining to your feeling of self-worth?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to
Absolutely.
share on top of that, or maybe later?
Maybe later.
Okay, great. All right, let's swipe it 10 times, just holding love and gratitude for this emotion and anywhere else that your viewers are aligning with this and receiving the clearing also for shock in their world, to release from the energetics of being unworthy. We are so worthy of everything. I have to remind myself this all the time. I've lost count, so we're just going to do 2 more. Pretty good with timing. Professional dancer. We're just going to do solid 4 beats, but we can also double check. Did we release this emotion? Yes. Okay. Can we release the one emotion that's specific? I am aware of time. To crystal. Yes. Is this in column A? Is this an odd row? Is this in row 1? Is this abandonment? Trail? No, abandonment. How old are you, Crystal?
42.
42. Does this happen before 20? Before 10? Before 5? Before birth? At 1? Do we need to know more details? Is it safe to clear this? So abandonment around age 1. Does it resonate? I know that's 1, but maybe experiences you've heard of?
Yeah, it's a tricky time. But I know that when my mum fell pregnant with me, she left my dad. He was not a good or a safe person to be around. So that was a good thing, but it may it may stem from there.
Okay, can you just say for me, do I feel abandoned from my father?
Do I feel abandoned from my father?
And can you say for me, I don't feel abandoned from my father?
I don't feel abandoned from my father.
Okay, just I wanted to confirm what I was hearing, which was give or take 1 years old, we're a little bit more aware, even more aware. We're aware of everything, no matter how old we are. We're infinite souls and beings. So we are aware that there's a disconnect and we don't understand why at that age. So it isn't uncommon for a lot of us who have that abandonment to have that, like, especially when we think of like a divorced family, somewhere, if we don't see or have that unconditional love coming from both sides, there's this like, wait, what moment? And then our little selves will internalize that as being not worthy, feeling abandoned. And then that can, you can sense how that kind of will accumulate over time. So, my question to you is, would you be willing to release this emotion from your little 1 year old self from holding on to?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we just have to swipe this one 3 times
Okay.
because it's yours. Okay. So just thank this for being with us. There we go. And release this trapped emotion. Yeah. Okay. Just aware of time. We'll just leave it at that, but we can also address off camera the rest of those if you'd like. But what was going on in your world? I'm so curious.
Well, it was emotional, but also I had afterwards this, I can't describe it any other way than a feeling of love in my heart.
Yes. So your heart, your small intestines, that's the channel that we were referring to on that last emotion. When we release emotions trapped from various age, hereditary lines, things we've absorbed from the people around us, it's like removing a rock from a river, or it's like deleting a series of files from a hard drive. There's literally more space. There's that energetic entanglement is no longer there. So that's a very correct way, very easy way to describe what you were feeling. Yeah, like you literally felt more space, especially in the heart, because that's where that emotion gets generated and trapped very often is in the heart. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that makes sense. Yeah, when you release something, you're freeing up space to let love in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'd be so curious to see what your heart well is at, because sometimes when we're going through a lot of things in life, we don't realize that our body is just like pinging for later, right? Like we've just deemed it. I need to keep that for later. It's like a little protective blanket. And the more protective blankets we gather, the more things we have in our way from actually receiving. I love the quote, like, you don't have a having problem, you have a receiving problem. And it's not really not a problem. It's just you've created such a stack of pillows in front of you that it's hard for like the thing that you want to come in because it has to try and climb over these things, and you're chucking pillows at it, you're chucking silly string at it, you're subconsciously chucking everything at it. So when we can remove those barriers and blocks, we can start to receive what we really want. And that's no different from, again, manifesting a computer and manifesting something different to show up in your body. And that's what I really like to help women with is more of the body aspect, because I think that we don't we haven't been taught how to have a beautiful co-creationship with our bodies for such a time period of history. So
yeah,
I have a big mission to start to bring that back into the world.
yeah, yeah, that's a big mission. But I love how you explain that because it's like a safety barrier that my body's created because I don't want to feel that anymore. So I'll just block. Yeah,
Block it off. Yeah. But feeling it When we tapped into those motions, did you have resistance to sensing them, or did it feel light to allow them?
I didn't feel resistance. It was emotional. I could feel it. Yeah, and then the lightness came after they left. So,
Very cool. Thank you for
yeah.
letting me do that and being
Oh,
open.
thank you. That's what I'm here for. This podcast is for the real, authentic version of me. So you get everything.
I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, yeah, it was amazing how much was from your mom. So there could be something else we could have looked at that, just for listeners, that could have been all of her stuff. But interestingly enough, it was everything that she'd absorbed from her mother, which isn't uncommon. We absorb a lot from our ancestors. And it's such a beautiful gift we get now to release that so that it's not being passed down generation to generation. And it clears it for them as well. So if they come back into the world in whatever sense, they don't have it attached to them either,
I love
from my
that.
perspective.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Okay. So I hope that everyone listening got something out of that and was able to tap into their own blocks, their own emotions. I would love to hear if everyone can just drop something below if you went through that experience. I would love to just connect on a deeper level with not just my own stuff. I want to hear from other people who are going through it too. Yeah.
That's a great question. Yes, I'd be so curious too.
Yeah, yeah. And do you have any other sort of examples of, not that we'll go through, but that you want to share of how you do your work? Is there any other messages that you want to share with that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people I've had the joy of working with struggle to see what's possible for them. And I want them to know that that is my number one job, is to hold space for what's possible for you. So if you can be in just the curiosity of what is possible for you, even if it feels totally far fetched, totally left field, totally impossible at this moment, know that just because you are thinking there's got to be something else possible here, you can create that possibility. And I'm here to really honor that, support that, highlight that, amplify that for you. There have been clients that I have seen over the past couple years where they really were struggling to come to a sense of peace with whatever their body was going through. And when we do this work, it is amazing how many layers we can uncover in such a short period of time that really get them to not only change their experience with what's happening in their body, at times physically change the how it's physically manifesting their body, and also create a different reality that they have, a different relationship with their body that they have, which then translates and ripple effects into how they show up in relationships, how they show up in their family, how they show up in their job, what they're asking for. When you do the work for you, the ripple effect is the greater good. And so I just want to remind people of that. I think it's amazing. I mean, it's my story too, but I struggled with really hard period cramps for a few years in my early 20s. And when I did this work on myself, I was releasing emotions that were trapped 23 generations back, of just pure shame and guilt around being a female and having the bodies that we do have. That one period was extremely difficult. The next was easy breezy. I'm a new woman. And to this day, if I find that my periods are getting a little bit more strenuous on my body, I will go back to this work. I will clear the emotions that I am not acknowledging in my own world, because I'm human too. I make sure my diet is good. I make sure that I'm doing all physical things, but I also have to be on the emotional side. Am I clearing what's going on? Am I stressed? Am I clearing it? Am I processing it? And this way, the tools that I use, not just emotion code, but the other tools, are very non-invasive. They're quick. They can be done while I'm walking down the street. They can be done driving in a car. And so they're very practical. I don't have to go set aside an hour of my day to do these tools. They're very integrated into my everyday life. And I hope when people work with me that they start to see how they can also integrate these very simple tools into their life, which then makes the focused time, I'm going for meditation, I'm going for a breath work, more impactful in their life, because they're not waiting for it all to come out in one session. They can bring it into their daily life. I feel like you know what that feels like when you're 6
Yeah.
months all bottled up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I can resonate
Mhm.
with the ripple effect. It really does. When you start to do the work on yourself, it just changes the relationship dynamics with everyone around you because you can show up better in every area of your life.
I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm so curious because I know you've done some deep work over the past couple episodes. Have you, like, what have you noticed changing and shifting, or is that more of an energetic awareness right now? And then you know that the physical will show up eventually?
So a few weeks ago was when what I thought was gone emotions of my own limiting beliefs had showed up again, and that was my self worth, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And when I recognized that that was the past me, I was able to sort of move past that. But I still felt emotions around why. And so while I was like, that's not me anymore, it was still that I couldn't let go of emotions and why. I
Mm-hmm.
did struggle with that. And so I'm really interested and curious to know now how I'm going to feel moving forward that those emotions have been released. And like I said yesterday, I did the release of my hips for the generational trauma. That was only
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. So I'm really curious as to how, maybe too much information, but sex is something that like my hips will literally freeze and lock and in Pilates. So I haven't had a Pilates session yet because I leave for holidays tomorrow and I won't be doing Pilates until I return. So my hips I've had no pain in them. I've had nothing going on, and it was only yesterday. So I'm like excited to see how that all
Yes.
unfolds.
I can't tell you what your experience is going to be, but I will say from personal experience and TMI for your audience, literally when I started doing the uterus cramps, just reproductive system, emotion release, and energetic release on myself, I honestly, like a couple months later, probably had the best sexcapade ever. Don't tell my husband that. But I had struggled with letting in, receiving, and being all of that. Can just imagine you have a bag of rocks, energetically there. When you take that off, you can receive more, you have more information available to you, your energy is flowing so much better. So I can say from personal experience, it was very lovely. And I know still to this day, just even married, I clear stuff around what I'm taking in from my friends and the people that I'm seeing online, and I'm clearing it away. And I notice when I do so, my intimate relationships grow. They get stronger. I'm more present. I'm less bogged down from literally the shit that's not mine. So we often will feel things that are somebody else's and we amplify them thinking that they're theirs. That's a whole conversation, like another realm and like human design perspectives and access perspectives and spiritual perspectives. We can go there at another conversation. But when you start to recognize that I'm holding things on that aren't even mine, like also, and you give that up, you let that go, you just open yourself up to more of you at the end of the day. So I'm excited. You have to tune into your podcast and see your update in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I will have to do an update. Let everyone know how sex is going.
You're welcome, audience. You're welcome.
Oh, but okay. So, do you have any tip that you would like to share with people? Is there anything that you would just people can take home and action it?
Yeah, I would say go listen to the very quick energetic meditation that I took Crystal through before we did the emotion code. So, that exercise, I do it so many different ways. It's very similar, but also very dependent on who I'm accessing, whether that's through a meditation on like my YouTube channel or in a client. The premise is the same. It's about not being contracted to this body, physically speaking. Years of working as a dancer, years of working with bodies, I've noticed that we contract in and then we get stuck there. Like it's here, it's all here. And when we can expand out and release the unnecessary tension, that very beautiful tool I learned back in 2016, when we can release that and allow our bodies to be more space, we feel lighter. We feel more energized. We feel more connected. And that is all you have to do to start. So no matter what you're doing, driving in the car, going for a yoga class, going for breath work, standing in line at the grocery store at the checkout that's going super, super slow, and you're just gonna shoot someone in the face, try that exercise out. And then report back to us of how it went. It is my favorite go-to. I think it's the basis for all the work that I do because it gets us into space and into joy. And I think those are two key elements to create miracles: space for allowance and joy in the experience. I think that's where miracles are happened.
And you have a freebie for people. Where can they find your platforms?
Yeah, so connect with me on Instagram, akeishadb.wellness. I'm sure Crystal will have all this linked up in the comments below or section below. So Instagram is where you can DM me, you connect with me. We can also get on a free energetic health consultation. It's about 30 minutes-ish. We'll see what's going on in your body. We'll see if you and I vibe together. And if we like to work with each other, great. If not, at least you walk away with some tools and some clearing, because we definitely have to clear some stuff in that session. And I also have two YouTube channels, Akeisha DB and also Fit by Akeisha. Fit by Akeisha is where you can actually find some free meditations and free movement that also brings in some of these elements and these tools that I pulled from my stretch training, my fascia training, my dance training, and to bring these tools into practical senses so that you start to get an idea of how to use them. And then my website, akeishadabat.com. There's some free resources on there, lots of visuals to help you also build your toolkit. I think it's really important for people to have a variety of things that they can pull and use. And working with me is just one way of doing that. I'm also accessing some free resources another way. And I'm also very excited for the future because I've got some really good audio goodies coming your way very, very soon.
Exciting stuff. Thank you. Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to share today?
No, I think you've actually asked some pretty great things. I just want to leave everybody with the possibility that there is more for you, and rooted in joy and space, I think you can get there no matter where you are currently. And I'm just very grateful to be able to chat with you, connect with you, and connect with your community.
I'm very grateful for you and for bringing me along the ride today and clearing some stuff that's been coming up. I'm really excited for just all the work that I get to do with all my incredible speakers that have such wisdom to share. So thank you for today, and really honestly comment below to let us know what you took away from this and maybe where your blocks are, because I love to be able to create the where we can just talk openly about this stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Very
you
cool.
for
Thank
today.
you.
Before you go, if today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know your biggest takeaway. And if you found value in this conversation, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps this message reach more incredible women just like you. Thanks for being here, and until next time, keep shining and stepping into your power.